Welcome to the video. Today I'd like to explore a clip where Robert Moore discusses Ken Wilber's work. For those unfamiliar with Ken Wilber, he created integral theory, combining studies of psychological, spiritual, and other techniques for personal development. It's interesting that Moore discusses Wilber in this lecture from around 2003. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about why I think this clip of Robert Moore talking is significant. Many people, myself included, initially find it difficult to incorporate archetypal energies into a personal development plan. When you want to get fit, creating a workout plan is straightforward. Eat well, avoid certain foods, go to the gym regularly. But if you sense you're not fully developed in your king quadrant, what action should you take? It's not clear or straightforward for men new to this topic. This led me to explore Ken Wilber's integral theory framework, which I adapted to fit Robert Moore's king, warrior, magician, lover work. This simplified everything and gave me the scaffolding to create a practical action plan to develop specific parts of each quadrant. And from this, it's helped me create the Sovereign Man course to help other men interested in this stuff create their own personal development plans. So to hear him speaking about Wilber and his work struck a chord with me and confirmed that there is a natural synthesis between the work of the two men. Moore speaks favorably of Wilber, but highlights an aspect of his teachings he considers extremely dangerous. Let's listen to what Dr. Moore had to say.
We in these days, don't we talk about collateral damage, right? The enormity of the collateral damage around those who are so haughty in their personality structure that they will not say to the archetypal self, I'm not doing very well with this energy. It's making me an addict. It's making me eat more than my human body needs. It's making me eat less than my human body needs. It's making me be addictive in my work habits. It's making me be addictive in my codependency. It's making me be masochistic in my relationships. You fill in the blank. It's making me blank. From this kind of point of view, you have to get that conscious and spoken between you and the primal other. It may not be in words, it may be thoughts. It may be thoughts that you think in your communion with the primal other. But it can't be just sitting there meditating. A lot of meditation encourages a merger with the archetypal self. Meditation forms which encourage you, for example, as a lot of the stuff Ken Wilber teaches, it's a magician inflation. And you start getting into this kind of fantasy that I am the great self. A lot of Ken Wilber's teaching, as brilliant as it is, and I love what he does with interdisciplinary models. He and I are very similar on the view of thinking integrated in an integrated way about all this hierarchy of disciplines and area sectors in human and physical life. I agree with him on that. But when he starts to privileging the magician sector to the degree that he does, he, like the postmodernists, in my view, are in a magician inflation, massive magician inflation. Well, you really are, if you were really spiritually enlightened, you have to realize that you are the great self. Well, at the farther reaches of mystical attainment of the avatar, such as you see probably in Rumi, that may be so. But to teach that without care to people as a model for their functioning, ooh, that's dangerous. Are you with me on that? Do you see why it would be dangerous? I teach you to meditate so you can feel like you're one with the great self. What's the problem with that? Somebody tell me.
So you think you are the great self.
Narcissism.
Fantastic narcissism, not expressed in the royal sector like the typical narcissistic personality disorder, You don't look like the narcissistic personality disorder, probably. But what do you look like? You look like a monk. You look like a holy man. Well, folks, when you look like a holy man, the chances are real good that you're very inflated in the magician sector. And from my point of view, the proof is on you to show how that's not so. And it's like one of the ways you can tell is that people that are really into these magician inflations, they're not too worried about actually doing anything, planning anything to solve the problems of the poor of the world. Most of them are going to meditate. And they're not going to do much about supporting the furthering of microcredit in the world, so forth like that. So anyway.
What Robert Moore emphasizes is that you should never attempt to merge with your archetypal self. A human is not an archetype. A human needs a balanced relationship with the archetypal energies within, without merging with them. To merge with an archetype means becoming the archetype, which leads to grandiosity. In this context, Moore points specifically to magician inflation. Looking at the inflated magician, we'd label it as the manipulator. One clear trait of the inflated magician is becoming detached from life and living, someone who loses themselves in meditation, disconnects from the outside world, and becomes completely detached from reality. Moore mentions that postmodernists have a massive magician inflation. He's addressing those who've lost connection with a grounding force, with religion, with God, with a higher transpersonal source of energy they could bow down to. This parallels critiques often made by Jordan Peterson about postmodernists.
Well, I think it's partly a form of narcissism.
Yes.
It's partly a consequence of the rise of the new rise again of say Marxist doctrine. I would say it's part of postmodernism. Maybe it's postmodernism more than anything else, because the postmodernists, that's a philosophical community, let's say, believe that the entire point of human categorization is power, and that dialogue between people is only a power dialogue, and that there's no real reality outside of interpretation, and that basically what we do is exchange interpretive viewpoints to ratchet up our dominance and status. And that's that.
Moore is also warning that some spiritual gurus teach, you are the great self, you are everything. The cosmos. God, it's all in you. Alan Watts comes to mind, often saying, you are it, and everything is one.
Let this mind be in you. That is to say, let the same kind of consciousness be in you that was in Jesus Christ. Okay, Jesus Christ knew he was God. Wake up and find out eventually who you really are. Well, in our culture, of course, they'll say you're crazy or you're blasphemous, and they'll either put you in jail or in the nut house, which is the same thing. But if you wake up in India and you tell your friends and relations, my goodness, I've just discovered that I'm God, they'll laugh and say, oh, congratulations. At last you found out.
While you might be able to philosophize about this, Moore cautions that teaching these concepts to people who already have a weak ego, weak sense of self, or unstable identity is very dangerous. It leads to grandiosity, believing you are the great self, and massive narcissism. This can manifest in spiritual gurus who form cults, manipulate followers, particularly women, seek gratification, and worship to fuel their narcissism and sense of grandiosity. Charles Manson exemplifies this inflated magician archetype gone mad very vividly.
Tell me in a sentence who you are. Nobody. I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me.
If you're lost in the magician, as Moore describes, lost in meditation, you're probably also high in lover inflation, which is the source of much spirituality. You need to balance this by plugging into your king and warrior energies more. One effective technique for reducing this type of inflation is practicing gratitude. An attitude of gratitude keeps you grounded rather than grandiose and helps maintain humility, a quality of the king in his fullness. The balanced king is at the center of his kingdom, not detached in the outer realms of the cosmos or away with the interdimensional Terence McKenna elves. Remember, you are not the great self. You are a human being with all the faults and limitations that entails. To tap more into your warrior energy, set boundaries for yourself and stick to them. You need a mission. As Moore mentions, a sign of being a balanced and holy man would be pursuing something like solving child starvation around the world, a mission that isn't self-serving. I'm not saying that's a mission you should set yourself, just holding it in comparison to spiritual gurus who are known for that, and the others whose mission is to form a harem of women to sexually gratify them. These are my thoughts on this segment of Robert Moore's lecture. What are yours? Which notable figures do you think display massive magician inflation? Have you ever found meditation dangerous, or felt you were losing yourself in spiritual practice? Let us know in the comments below. Click here to watch the full lecture by Dr. Robert Moore on the archetype of sacrifice, one of my favorites. Thanks for watching.